Alright, page 37. Western Pacific Railroad Museum air brakes principles and specific equipment. Alright, overcharge and undercharge. In order to understand the effects of overcharge and undercharge, it is necessary to keep in mind with the control valve applied with the release brake. Sensing difference in pressure between the brake pipe and the auxiliary reserve of the brake pipe pressure lower than the auxiliary reserve of the brake pipe will apply with the pressure, and the brake pipe is higher when the auxiliary reserve of the brake pipe will release. Train banks are fully recharged with the brake pipe auxiliary reserve of the emergency reserve, all charged with the feed of the regulating valve. The setting of the locomotive to 90 pounds. The rate of the train do not leak over the factor that causing the brake pipe gradient. The full charge must not be positive the rear of the train. Therefore, the cars of the rear train may be charged with lower pressure as long as the pressure within the limits be charged with set by the rules of the brake pipe auxiliary reserve and emergency reserve are charged the same pressure, and they charge is sufficient to the straight brake test, and the conditions does not constitute an undercharge. An undercharge that occurs, the auxiliary reserve are not charged up to the same pressure of the brake pipe within the car. Then the control of the sensing of the brake pipe pressure, the higher of the auxiliary reserve will keep the brake release. Brake pipe reduction may or may not apply on these cars. The brake pipe releases after the release reduction may remain higher than the auxiliary reserve pressure of the brakes will not apply. For this reason, the adequate brake pipe pressure at the rear of the train does not necessarily indicate the adequate charge of the train. Auxiliary reserve pressure is indicated with the boost gauge must also known. Although the above comments were concerned with the initial charge of the similar condition, but they can occur with the recharge condition if the engineer makes a reduction and release while the running of the flow follows it with another reduction, but the auxiliaries have the time to recharge. The good possibility of release of some of the brakes will not apply from the second reduction unless the second reduction is greater than the first. An overcharge occurs with the auxiliary emergency reserve and are charged with the high pressure for the feed of the regulating valve setting on the locomotive control valves or sensing the brake pipe pressure is lower with the auxiliary reserve pressure applied with the brakes, and the brakes cannot be released to ordinary means, but even if the apparent release is made, but the brakes will frequently creep up on the back on. To get rid of the overcharge, the auxiliary emergency reserve pressure with reduced below the feet of the regulating valve setting will accomplish it. This year, the application relief is required in an extreme case of manual bleeding of individual cars required, but the engine man should be governed with the current instructions for the roadman, foreman, and trainman handling the exact procedure. Since the correction of the overcharge is time consuming, the engine man must avoid causing an overcharge. Some of the brake valves that have the provision for the charging of the pipe with the main reserve of the same specific equipment. Using the feature for the charging must be stopped below the standard brake pipe pressure. Also, care should be also used in the setting the feed valve, the regulating valve. The feed regulating valve inadvertently set too high. The application should be made with the setting back to the standard pressure to avoid the overcharge. Overcharges can also be caused by the other factors improperly regulated yard air or defective equipment. Alright, release. Release of the automatic brakes is accomplished by the raising of the pressure of the brake pipe higher than the pressure of the auxiliary reserve of the control valve. The will then make the exhaust brake cylinder to air to the atmosphere, releasing the brakes. The release training of the brakes feature very subject to the direct release of the engineer cannot be graduated off the particular partially release of the application. He can only release completely the manipulation automatic brake valve is concerned. Release control retainer. Then the normal operation release for the brakes occur at the same time. The recharge is configured, and consequently, the brake pipe cannot be recharged without releasing the brakes. Under the certain conditions, the long, heavy grades with the dynamic brake is not available to the undesirable provided with the means of keeping the brake applied with the recharging the freight cars equipped with release control retainers. Although the interesting simplification of the testing diagram so far of the brake cylinder is exhausting directly atmosphere with the freight cars. On the freight cars exhausted through the retainer in figure 5.4, the retainer can be set with the exhaust directly at the atmosphere is set with the retained given amount of the brake pipe pressure, cylinder pressure. The retainers must be set manually in accordance with the timetable instruction. Alright, releasing, ensuring the accelerated releases. Release ensuring the feature of the ability when the control valve makes the release more than positive if the brake pipe pressure resort with 1.5 pounds greater than the auxiliary reserve pressure. The feature exhausts a small amount of the air through the auxiliary reserve. The pressure difference for the greater than the valve action more positive to be done. Reduce possibility with the sticking brakes, which can be a problem, particularly with the release and made with the light application. The accelerated release feature is newer to the ABD control valve that will utilize the emergency air reserve to assist the replenishing of the brake pipe. This also serves as makes the release of the positive. Initiation of the release. They are normally initiated with the engineer, but within the train, the automatic brake valve, the dynamic brake interlock. These automatic and electrical pneumatic devices on the locomotive with the release and holds on the automatic service application of the locomotive. The units of the dynamic braking is in operation. The feature is nullified during the emergency applications. Independent release. With the feature of the engineer can hold off the release of the automatic application from the locomotive units while only leaving the train brakes applied. With the car release valve, the manually operated with the valve of the freight cars, which can be used to release the brakes on individual cars, truck cutouts, and locomotives. Locomotives have the side vent of the cutout adjacent to each truck, which is enclosed with a little vent with the brake cylinder release of the brake when the truck these clocks are closed. The locomotive is no longer effective with the brakes on adjacent truck. When the clocks are closed, it is possible to have an indication of the brake cylinder pressure on the cab gauge without actually having the brake cylinder pressure and the application of the brakes on the locomotive. Alright, unintentional release causes making two additional reduction with the maintaining the type of the brake valve with initial reduction made less than the 6 to 8 pounds, thereby possibility with the brakes will start to apply with the release of the unintentionally caused by the quick service feature of the control valve, which sensing the brake with the pipe pressure drop will make the local brake reduction greater than made with the brake valve. With the brake valve with the pressure maintaining the type of the will feed the air of the brake pipe to raise the equalizing reserve pressure. The control valve sensing the rise of the brake pipe pressure will release the brakes. Repeated brake pipe reductions without allowing the time of the recharge. If the second pipe reduction must be made before the first has been recharged, the second reduction must be greater than the first. Unintentional release can be occurred with the charging section explanation. Brake pipe equipment improperly set on the track locomotive units. If the brake of the valve of the trailing unit is not properly cut out, the air can flow into the brake of the pipe within the unit release brakes. Making too small reductions when coming to the stop. The too small reducing when coming in to stop, and the angle cap closed before the reduction is complete. The possibility of the air disturbance is in the brake pipe. Cause the closing angle cap will be sensed by the control valve as the brake pipe recharges, causing the brake slow release. Or your independent brake valve. The brake for the covered briefly simplified brake system is in modified straight air brake test on locomotive units only. The independent brake valve air applies the release of the brakes on a single locomotive unit only. On all units and multiple units consisting of the proper hoses are coupled and cut in. Independent brake valve can also be used releasing and prevent it in an automatic application of locomotive units, and if the proper and quicker action brake of the automatic brake valve is used with the braking light of the locomotive units in preference to the automatic brake valve. It also used with the switching operation. Additional braking effort of the cars is not required. In general, the opposite principle of the automatic brake valve, the air supplied with the brake valve with the application, not the exhaustion, since the quick action brake of the rapid brake cylinder pressure builds up. Possibility must be used with the cars to avoid sliding wheels, and the brake cylinder pressure gauges must be observed closely while using the brakes. The independent brake valve also used in holding the brake for the same locomotive effective for this purpose. The engine is running. The compressor function, so the operating rule of additional precautions to taking the standing locomotive. The dynamic brake interlocking does not affect the independent brake valve. Consequently, the engineer should keep the independent brake released when the dynamic braking is used, with the retarding effect of the dynamic independent brake. Independent is likely causing sliding wheels. Alright, Section 2, Specific Equipment, 26L brake equipment. The following locomotives are equipped with the 26 brake equipment. The 1501 to 1503 switcher, 1500. The 2001 to 2010 GP20, the 2251, 2200 through 2265 UB23B, 3001 through 3022, the GP35, 3051 through 3071 U330B, 3501 through 3544 GB40. The major component feature of the equipment is filed with the 26C automatic brake valve figures 26 and 21. Self-lapping pressure, maintaining brake valve with the control of the training of the brakes with regulating pressure of the brake pipe. Figure 26.1 shows the automatic brake valve handle, the regulating valve of the handle, and the brake pipe cutout valve with the independent brake valve handle. Cutout valve. The cutout valve must be properly positioned with the automatic brake valve to be effective. The type of the cutout valve exists with the two positions marked in the out and in. The three position freight, passenger, and out make the valve effective. The dialed type indicator handle should be pushed in and turned into the in or freight. The out in position used in the trailing units or units hauled in dead end. The out position is and also used during the brake pipe test. The passenger position is used with the passenger equipment and will graduate release, and consequently is not used with the Western Pacific. Regulating valve. The regulating valve on the left back of the control stand is used for the adjusting, equalizing reservoir pressure, which turns the set of the brake pipe pressure with the valve with the used for the set pressure standard 90 pound. With the turning of the valve clockwise, increasing the pressure, counterclockwise, and increasing the pressure. This adjustment should only be made with the valve handle in release position. Handle position. The handle position for automatic brake valve figure 26.2 as follows. 26.2. The number 26L brake equipment automatic brake valve handle positions. Release, initial reduction, automatic application zone service, supplemental, and handoff, and emergency. Release. The brake valve has one position, but the running in the release is located with the extreme left of the clockwise position with the quadrant. The position used with the release of the recharge of the automatic brake. The handle should be left in the position while running in the no application required. When the position of the brake valve will maintain the brake pipe pressure setting of the regulating valve should be at 90 pounds. The minimum reduction, the first position of the right release for the minimum reduction position, and the position equalizing reserve will be reduced to 6 to 8 pounds. The corresponding reduction of the brake pipe pressure when left the position, the brake valve will maintain the brake pipe pressure at 82 to 84 pounds, allowing the air to flow into the brake pipe pressure if necessary to compensate the leak. The position used with the initial application of the adjusting train slack to set the brake pipes further, the heavier application set for the operation of the equipment is conserved, but the brake valve should not return directly back to the release in this position since the release after the light application can result in stuck brakes. Our surface applications are move the handle forward to the right of the result of the progressive grade of the equalizing reserve reduction, progressive lower brake pipe pressure for the handle of the move whatever the point reducing the equalizing reserve desired to the amount, and then stop the valve within the lap itself. The stop reduction at the point where the brake pipe pressure may be reduced the like amount with maintaining the feature with the maintained with reduced pressure, allowing the air to flow into the brake pipe, compensating for the leak if necessary. The handle should not be removed from the left with the surface dome with the brakes cannot be graduated off the frame surface. The release with the desire of the handle should be moved all the way to the left of the release position. The full surface application is available at the right end of the surface zone near the quadrant. Stop of the resistance. The further handle of the movement will be felt when at this point. Or the suppression in position would immediately right of the surface of the zone with the start of the hump in the quadrant. The position of the full surface application suppress the penalty application of the curves of the power recovers the PC power knock action resulting in the penalty application. It causes the penalty of the head corrected with the full surface reduction has made with the brakes can be released without coming to stop. This position will not suppress or recover the emergency application, will recover the PC or the power knockout resulting in the emergency. No attempt should be made to use it for its purpose. Hand off. It names the position with the remove of the brake valve handle with the condition of the unit with the trail of the dead unit. The handle in the place in the position with the brake valve cut in. The brake pipe will reduce to zero at the surface of the brake with the brake pipe brake per air brake rules of the 20-pound reduction should be made. Brake valve cut out before the move of the hand. The position with the condition of the unit for the trail. Alright, emergency position. In the position extreme right hand with the counterclockwise end of the quadrant with the position of the brake pipe vent directly with the atmosphere of the emergency rate with the initiate the emergency application through the train. The additional initiating emergency application of the position also used for the emergency as initiated some of the other source of the emergency application occurs with the moving of the train regardless of the source of the brake valve should be moved to emergency left until the train stops. In an intentional emergency and initiated the standing of the train, the brake valve must be in the emergency position. In any case, brake valve handling must remain in the emergency position at least 1 minute before the brake control. The power knockout action can be recovered to moving the handle to the release position. In the emergency position, effectively even with the brake valve cut out, will initiate the emergency application with the cutout valve in the out position. Multiple unit valve. The valve is located with the control stand used with the cutout and independent brake in and out. The two types of the valves exist. The multiple unit 2A valve, the 3-position valve with the position lead and or dead with the trail 2, 4, and 2, 6. The trail 6, the control leading unit, the valve must be lead in the dead position in order to effectively independent brake valve control. The trail 2, 4, and 2, 6 is used for the cut of the independent brake valve, independent brake control. The one when the unit is trailing control under the 2, 4 or number 2, 6 brake equipment. Trail 6 is used when the trailing of the control unit with the number 6 brake equipment. The position is normally opening. Used in the Western Pacific. The lead unit position is used only when the preparing a unit for the movement of dead end train. The spring-loaded valve with the indicator handle should be depressed with the turning in the different position. Alright, double-ported cutout cock. The two-position cutout serve the same with the purpose of the multiple unit 2A valve. The position marked lead or dead or trail. The valve must be in the lead or dead position in order to the independent brake control of the unit. The trail position unit controlled with another unit having number 2, 4, or 2, 6 with brake equipment. As with the multiple 2A valve, the lead dead position is used for the unit being hauled with the dead trail. Alright, the SA26 independent brake valve, figure 26.3, the self-lapping brake valve is used to apply the relief of the brake with the locomotive of the unit to the valve. Only the valve is pressure maintaining, will maintain the given pressure of the brake cylinder corresponding with the pressure originally applied with the brake cylinder for the movement of the handle. Alright, figure 26.3 shows your independent brake valve SA26 pressure lever down, the release automatic release valve, application release and full end application. Alright, release. Position extreme left with the quadrant full application. Position extreme right with the quadrant bottom between the release and the full application. The application zone. Most of the handle left to the right of the cause of increase of the application brake that can be graduated off. This movement to the right or left will give the decreasing brake cylinder pressure. Independent release with the automatic application. Independent brake valve hand is depressed. Bailed down. The release position will cover the automatic application release on the locomotive. The independent brake valve handle depressed from the application zone will cover the automatic application release down with the pressure call forward by the position of the independent brake on independent handle of the quadrant. If bailed, this is bailed down feature of the frequently used, especially with the release of the position, because of the operation condition of the desirable to keep the locomotive's release with the rest of the train brake apply of the feature releases all automatic application surface emergency. Consequently, the locomotive is no effective with air brakes when the independent brake handle with the bail down with the release position and ensure the release of the brakes on all the units consistent of the handle should be bailed down and 4 seconds per unit. Alright, the 24RL brake equipment. The following locomotives are equipped with the 24RL brake equipment. Locomotive 700 through 713, GP 7 mile 725 through 732, GP 9 mile 913 through 921, F7 mile. The major components featured of the brake equipment is valve, the D24 automatic brake valve is designed for the Type 2 D24 brake valve with a quick explanation variant for the control of the handle position valves. Figure 24 1 shows the D24 type brake valve. Alright, and even more complicated, the D24H brake valve, the brake valve cutout cock, the shifter valve, the full release, release running, first service lap, service, air supply, first service position cock, first service position cock, safety control cock. Alright, figure 2.4 shows the D24 and dead engine cock, the retarded recharge cock, the retarded recharge cock, graduated release cap. Alright, release position. Position extreme left with the quadrant running position. Next position right with the counterclock with the release with the running with the hand with the position airflow with the feed valve with the through the ports of the brake valve with the brake pipe. The position will be also release the automatic brake with the maintain with the brake pipe pressure with the feed valve. The setting when the application does not require this is the normal position with the brake valve handle is carried. 3. The pressure maintaining position. This next position is at the right of the running of the position airflow with the slower rate of the brake pipe to compensate the leakage after the reduction has been made. The handle should not be moved into this position for any position other than surface, although the brake handle should not be moved in the pressure maintaining position to the running or lap the back of the pressure maintaining. When using the feature, surface reduction is made with the surface position. The handle made to move to the pressure maintaining position with the air exhausting. The surface of the port does not pause at lap. The pressure maintaining feature is cut in or cut out by a cutout right on the side of the brake stand. Lap position. The next position of the right of the maintaining lap at the position, all ports of the closed and the non-airflow through the brake valve with the handle position with the position after the surface reduction if the maintaining feature is not required, but not desired or required as such making the brake pipe leakage test. The position can also be suppressed the penalty application if the cause of the penalty have not been corrected. The handle been placed on this position. The force of the full penalty application with the reduction, the stop of the handle to be moved. Running with the recovery of the power knockout action, release of the brakes of the throttle must also be returned for the idle to recover the power knockout action. Alright, surface position. Next position to right, surface to the position, equalizing reserve pressure, reducing the brake pipe pressure to reduce. Accordingly, as surface rate, the brake pipe is not self-lapping the position as is in the reduction will not limit the valve. The equalizing reserve pressure should not be reduced to the desired amount. The handle should be moved to the lap pressure maintaining position, whichever is required. Alright, your emergency position. The position of the extreme right with the counterclockwise, the position of the quadrant, the position of the brake pipe air pressure directly with the atmosphere, rapid rate of the rapid enough for the cause and all control of the valve to assume the emergency position. Emergency application can be initiated in this position regardless of whether the brake pipe cutout clock is closed or open. The emergency application initiated with some of the location other than the control brake valve. The handle of the controlling brake valve should be put in emergency position under the train stop, then to recover the brake control of the power knockout switch to place. A handle in the lap for about 1 minute, but then running the relief in the conditions of permit the brake release. The safety control cock. The cock is located at the front of the lower portion of the brake stand. If the cuts in the in or out feature provided with the penalty application, the handle down with the safety control features are cut in effect, and the handle up. The safety controls are not in effect. The penalty application will not occur with the unit is in lead control. The DB24 feed valve. The valve is located at the back of the brake stand near the cab floor. The setting of the valve controls the brake pipe pressure for the pressure of the air flowing into the brake pipe is governed with the valve of the brake pipe valve is running or the release of the FV position. The pressure should be adjusted with the hand wheel with the brake valve the running position, taking proper precaution to avoid under overcharge after reduction pressure. The K2A rotary valve. Alright, the handle over the letter freight and the handle over the letters freight lap, the passenger lap, and the handle over the letters pass. The K2A rotary valve, the position used in the trailing A units, and the independent brake valve, figure 24. This valve is located either on the back of the control stand with the floor of the cab, the opposite side of the control stand for the back extent of the stand of the engineer's seat with the valve with the forward position multiple must be positioned properly in order to have the effect of an independent brake valve. The valves also have certain features of the automatic brake control for the handle position as valve, the freight marked freight, then position independent brake valve cut in effect of the automatic brake valve condition. For control of the emergency feature, the details of emergency application of the locomotive in the units until after the application has been taken in effect with the cars in the train. The automatic brake valve is also contained, but the split reduction of the penalty application position should be used only with the controlling lead of the unit of the locomotive with the train of 40 cars or more. Passenger marked as pass. If in the position independent brake valve is cut in with the effect of the control of the emergency split reduction feature for the automatic brake cut out, the position should be used with the lead controlling unit of the locomotive with all units with trains less than 40 meter car. This should be used. This should also be used when the trailing unit of the switcher locomotive whether the unit is ahead of the dead end of the train. Alright, 3, your freight lap. Marked freight lap. The position conditions of the equipment of the train controlling unit with the rotary air of the freight position independent brake valve is not effective with doing on a unit with the rotary air valve in position. The position should be used only when the unit is the trailing unit with controlling with the 24RL brake equipment having rotary air valve with the freight position. Your passenger lap. The independent brake valve is not effective within the unit having the rotary valve within position. The position of the unit trailing with the controlling 24RL unit with the rotary valve in the passenger position. It should also be used with the trailing control units with the 26L equipment. Alright, your S40 independent brake valve figure 24-4. The self-lapping type of the valve that will also maintain against leak of the valve controlled brake for the locomotive unit. The handle position figure 245 shows the 24RL brake equipment. Release the independent brake valve in the full application figure. Alright, release. The position extremely left with the quadrant with the handle of the use position. Independent application. Release all the handle with the depressed on the bell down with the position. Release the automatic application. Locomotive brakes and ensure the positive relief of the brakes on all units. And all should be held down for 4 seconds each of the unit consists. Full application. The position of the right of the quadrant with the handle in the position of the locomotive. The brakes applied with the full brake cylinder pressure. The internal adjustment of the valve. The standing locomotive should have the valve left of the position. Between the release and full application, the application zone movement of the handle left to the right will increase the brake cylinder pressure of the brakes. Graduated off with the movement of the handle with the right to left will cause the decreasing the brake cylinder pressure. Alright, the freight emergency. In the position with the right of the full application with the belt with the resistance handle moving beyond the full application of the handle is normally moved beyond the point where the handle is moved now overcome this resistance moving it against the positive stop. A quicker emergency application will occur with the locomotive with the automatic brake valve with the emergency of the position of the rotary valve with the freight position. The position is used to overcome the control of the emergency. Normally ineffective with the locomotive when the rotary valve in the freight position used the position with the automatic brake valve in the position of the emergency will result in the same application of full application position. Air blow will be audible with the remainder of the position should not be used. In this case, with the rotary valve in the passenger position, the position will have the same effect as the full application position. The 1.4 EL brake equipment. The following units are equipped with the type of the brake: 401 to 402, switcher 1, 557 to 561 through 745, 72 model, 56 564 S4 model, 607 through 608 number NW2 model, 746 through 747 the RS1 model. The major components featured with the equipment is followed: the K14 brake equipment. The equipment featured with the various models with the K14 brake valve, the figure 14.1 with the upper smaller brake valve, the independent and the lower large automatic. Figure 14.1 shows the K14 brake valve. The order of the automatic brake valve, the effect of the brake pipe cutout, the cock must be open. The different type of the cutout cocks are using equipment at 2 position and 3 position. With the 2-position cock, the cock is open with the handle with a horizontal crosswise through the pipe. The position to give it the full brake control with the unit with the closed position handle parallel to the pipe. The use for the handling of the unit dead train. The position cock with the number 1 position handle crosswise pipe with the automatic brake valve. Number 2 position continuities in the unit with the trailing of the controlling unit with the multiple of the position. Not normally used with the number 3 position used with the continuation of the unit of the movement into the dread train. Alright, the feed valve. The equipment has been the M3A feed valve, figure 14.2, the adjusting the regulating the brake pipe pressure of the automatic brake valve with the running position. Similar appearing in the M3 feed valve that uses to regulate the maximum brake cylinder pressure of the independent application of the valve should be at least set at 35 pounds. Alright, your handle positions, automatic brake valve, figure 14.13 if it's followed. Automatic brake valve handles, you have your release, slow application, quick application, and then your next one has the release, running, holding, lap, service, and emergency position. Our release position, extreme left of the quadrant, permits the air to the main reserve to flow with the brake pipe. The rapid buildup of the brake pipe pressure should be used with caution to avoid overcharge of the buildup. The air is audible hand with the position running. The brake pipe will be charged up to the setting with the feed valve to maintain with the feed valve setting the position used with the normal release, charging, recharging automatic brakes when application does not require the normal position of the handle. Holding. When the handle is moved with the position other than application locomotive brakes to stay applied with the train brakes, cars will release the lap. The position, all operating parts will be closed off. The position is used with the surface reduction to hold automatic brakes applied until either the further reduction and release is required. Or your surface position. In the surface position, the brake pipe reduction and surface rate with the controlled equalizing reservoir pressure. The brake valve is not set with the lapping position. Consequently, after the desired reduction as equalizing reserve pressure has been made, the handle should be moved to the lap. The emergency position. The position vents the brake pipe directly to the atmosphere at rapid rate with the control valve to move the emergency application position. The portion of the U to initiate the emergency application handle should be also moved to the position of emergency application initiated by some other means. Handle position. Independent brake valve handle position. Figure 14.3 follows. The release position, extreme left position, releasing locomotive brakes applied with the automatic application with the release of the train brakes. Alright, running position, normal position of the handle with the brake application is not required. Independent application will be released in the position. All operating ports are closed in the position used to hold the application. Slow application, the name of the pipe for the slow application is called the slow brake application. Desired brake cylinder pressure and the obtained the handle to the lap to hold the application. Quick application operates at the same aspect of the brake cylinder pressure is built with the rapid pressure. Rapid rate. Note, the independent brake valve is not self-lapping alternate this device. Locomotives number 401 through 402, 557 through 561, 745, and 564 for the electronic alert devices. All alertness devices detailed with the covered diesel operating notice number 106, which is included in this manual. Locomotive number 607, 608, 746 through 747 have a foot pedal alertness control with the device of the foot pedal must be depressed anytime the locomotive brakes are released and the penalty brake application will occur. The recovery of the penalty requires depressing of the foot pedal, relapping the automatic brake valve, pushing the button type the recovery adjacent to the brake stand. Alright, the 6BL brake equipment. The equipment is found by the switcher locomotive 601 through 607 and the electromotive diesel model number SW9. The brake valve assembly designed for the H6L, consisting of the H6 automatic brake valve, assembly the LA6B independent brake valve. Or your 8.6 automatic brake valve, the brake with the valve is not self-lapping, the pressure maintaining only with the running position in order to make auto brake valve with effective with the brake pipe cutout cock must be in proper position, 3-position coke located in the brake with the back of the brake stand with the position are marked with the lead trailing or dead. Lead. Position opening the brake pipe with the automatic brake valve makes the brake valve operable and effective with trailing. The position condition of the unit, the trailing and other controlling unit, also these units are capable of operating with multiple. They are not capable of all other units are normally operated with the multiple. Therefore, the trailing units should not be used and specifically instructed to do so. Dead. And the position of the brake pipe cutout with the automatic brake valve position is used with the hauling the unit with the dead in the train when double heading. The handle position, the 8.6 automatic brake valve figure 6BL1, left to the right counterclockwise as follows. 6BL1 starts with the release, depress of the release, the application to zone to the independent brake valve zone. The emergency and running position has a handling and service application automatic brake valve. Or release position of the extreme left quadrant permits the air main reserve pressure to flow with the brake pipe. Rapid buildup of the brake pipe pressure should be used with the cause of the overcharge of the below of the air audible hand in position running. Running. Brake pipe will be charged up to the setting of the feed valve to maintain with the feeds valve setting the position of the used for the normal release. The charging, recharging automatic brakes application is not required with the normal position handle. Holding when the handle is moved in the position after the application, locomotive brakes will stay applied when the trains or brakes or cars will release. And the position all operating ports are closed off the position used the after surface reduction automatic brakes applied with the either further reduction or release required. Surface the position, give the brake pipe reduction the surface rate with the control equalizing reserve pressure of the brake valve is not self-lapping the position, and consequently, after the desired reduction equalizing reserve pressure has been made, the handle should be moved to the lap of the emergency position vents the brake pipe directly at atmosphere the rapid rate with the cause of the control valve to move in the emergency application. The position is used to initiate the emergency application, and the handle should be always moved to the position emergency application has initiated some other means. The F4B feed valve is located on the engineer's side of the brake stand under the automatic brake valve. The valve is used to set the brake pipe pressure and will maintain the brake pipe set for the pressure automatic brake valve in the running position. The hand wheel should be adjusted only when the automatic brake valve handle the running position. Precautions against overcharge should be observed. Low brake pipe pressure. Alright, the LA6B independent brake valve. The self-lapping type of the independent brake will be maintaining against the leakage flow and applied. The valve with the two-position relief of the extreme left and the quadrant full application with the extreme right. Between these two position application zone where movement of the right will increase the brake cylinder pressure, movement to the left decrease the brake cylinder pressure. Depressing the bearing down with the handle of the release position will result in will release the brake pressure quickly regardless of the surface source application. Alertness and control. The units equipped with electronic alertness and control, commonly called the all-alerter. Details of the operation of the details covered in the diesel operation. Notice 10.6 of the copy included with this manual. If the conditions called for the device are not met, penalty application will occur. This is done by venting, equalizing reserve surface rate with the consequential venting of the brake pipe pressure application. Automatic brakes accompanied with the loss of the power, the knockout power switch application. Switch actuation, diesel operation. Notice number 10.6 to give the full particular and method on the recovery. Figure 6BL2, brake equipment, the brake valve handle position. Release the running position, emergency position on the H6 of brake valve. Alright, and then on the depressing release to the application zone, the independent brake valve. Or your brake pipe flow indicator. The road locomotives are equipped with the brake pipe flow indicator. These devices give an indication of flow of the air through the locomotive feed with the regulating valve of the brake pipe. The device is designed because of the brake pipe gauge to indicate the pressure of the brake pipe. The locomotive give no indication of how much of the air flowing of the brake pipe maintained with the pressure. The indicators are actual different pressure gauge with the measure of the pressure of the drop across the orifice of the brake pipe. The inflow indicator adapter. The greater the flow, greater the pressure. The difference greater given the higher flow indication. Although these devices will show the flow of the air necessary to maintain the brake pipe leakage, they should not be determined actual brake pipe leakage during the test. They can be used to determine when the charging is nearly complete with the actual leakage test. Must be made with the observation brake pipe pressure gauge for the timing with which was with the watch according with the air brake flow rule. With the graduation of these devices, indication of the flow, they do not necessarily represent the pounds or pounds per minute. Alright, two different types of these indicators are used, the two-pointer and the selector type. The two-pointer figure BPF1 of the black hand which corresponds with the flow of the air, red hand which can be set on the knob on the front of the instrument. The instrument also has an amber warning light. This light will come on only when the flow exceeds the setting of the red hand. The sector type is shown in the figure BF2, the type of the differential between the pointer hand of the sector and give the indication of flow into the brake pipe. The indication of the BF2 is 7. Alright, here you have your BF1 and your BF2 indicator. Alright, all concerned diesel operation number 10.6. Subject, switching engine alerter operation. On switcher locomotives that have electronic alert device following the instruction as will apply. The device's alerter sense of the engineer normal movements when operating locomotive. The units will operate as follows. Anytime the independent brake is applied with the brake cylinder pressure of 20 pounds or more, the alerter is nullified. As soon as the engineer receives the controls and the independent brake is released and at less than 25 pounds of the brake cylinder pressure, the alerter is operation. If the engineer touches release and makes the brake for the contact with any of the metallic object for the cab once every 20 seconds with no change for the normal operation for the locomotive, you should fail to make any of the movements within 20 seconds. The buzzer will sound, a red light will flash, the alerter box with the warning can be acknowledged by the engineer making the following movements. Making the contact with the hand metal object within the cab. If he is holding a metal object, he will break the contact with the monetarily with the making contact with his other hand, pressing the acknowledge button. The button can not be held in the depressed position as will result in the penalty application. Making one of the above movements will cause the warning light to go out with the buzzer will stop sounding. If the engineer fails to acknowledge the warning of approximately 10 seconds after the buzzer light come on, the penalty brake application will occur. The locomotive will lose power. If the penalty application occurs, the following must be done to recover: the reduce the throttle, the idle, the metal object, that is being held, the brake contact with the press the acknowledge button, press the reset button. Alright. If the alerter becomes inoperative, proceed as follows. The brake shield and close the alerter cutout cock. The cock is located in the cab of all switch engines, also below the feed valve. Brake seals on open alerter circuit breaker located in the front forward cab just inside the electrical locker on the right side. Whenever the seal or broken alerter is cut out and must be reported in the working report, locomotives be towed in dead. Controls and brake equipment are positioned to be as per previous instruction. In addition with the following must be done: brake seal and close the alerter cutout cock and be sure the main battery switch is open. If the locomotive is standing on the battery switch is open. If the alerter circuit breaker has been open, the reset button must be pressed before brakes can be released. Once again, this is a reading of the Western Pacific Railroad Museum Air Brake Principle Specific Equipment.